As you know, I live in the great Commonwealth of Virginia, which is being destroyed by a variety of efforts, policies, from immigration to people leaving the bluest of blue states, coming into Virginia and then voting like stupid liberals. But in any event, we have a governor by the name of McAuliffe, an old bagman for Hillary Clinton. And we have this Governor McAuliffe because the RNC and a number of Republican donors refused to back Ken Cuccinelli, who is a wonderful fella. I know him personally. He was a great attorney general of Virginia, but we can't have such a right-winger, as the governor. We had some of these goofball Republican elected officials coming out for McAuliffe. Well, anyway, McAuliffe wins by about 2.5% of the vote. So he would have lost, but he won. And he's been a lousy, no-good-for-nothing governor. And on top of that, he's a moron. So the Washington Compost took a look at one of McAuliffe's prize decisions. That is, evading the legislature, the assembly, violating the Constitution of Virginia, picking up Obama's despotic habits. He just decided on his own one day that felons should be able to vote, ex-felons. Now, whether you're sympathetic with that view, and I'm certainly not, it's beside the point. It's called the rule of law. And just because McAuliffe wakes up one day from a drunken stupor, that's a joke, maybe, and then decides to do it, doesn't make it so, doesn't make it the law. And that challenge is in the Supreme Court of Virginia now, and I don't know what the makeup of that court is, but God only knows. Anyway, something's happened. What happened is all these left-wing groups come into Virginia. And, of course, they want to register as many ex-felons as they possibly can. It's hysterical. They're in a frenzy. We got to do this. We got to elect Hillary. We got to elect Hillary. And, of course, that's why this mannequin, Terry McAuliffe, is the governor. Front man, bag man for Hillary Clinton, and they want to deliver her Virginia. So get this. Richmond, Virginia, Washington Compost. Terry McAuliffe mistakenly restored the right to vote to several violent felons currently in prison or in supervised probation as part of his sweeping clemency order, records show. Among the 206,000 felons who are awarded voting rights are some high-profile killers whose crimes shocked their small communities. Ronald R. Cloud, 68, was in prison in West Virginia for sexual assaults involving a child when he pleaded guilty in 2014 to the murder of a Fauquier County man in a 3-decade-old cold case. So I guess McAuliffe supports murderers voting. When McAuliffe restored their rights and the rights of others, great fanfare on April 22, he presented it as a way for Virginia to move past the Jim Crow era. The hell does this have to do with What the hell does this have to do with Jim Crow? The same thing these bathrooms have to do with Selma, which is nothing. Because African Americans have been disproportionately affected by felon disenfranchisement. This is amazing to me. Are people imprisoned as a group? Do we have quotas for prisoners? Is there something going on that I'm missing? Don't we have a court system? Don't liberals typically control our court system? Don't we have what we call juries? If there's mass discrimination going on based on prosecutions and convictions and sentencing, well, let's see the evidence. I'm not talking about how many people of a particular color are in prison. No, let's see the actual evidence of discrimination. There isn't any. Not on a massive level. There isn't any to support what these people are doing, the libs. The administration said only felons who'd served their time and completed parole would win back the right to vote and be permitted to resume other aspects of civic life, such as serving on a jury or running for public office. Well, I don't mind that. Look, they might as well be ex-felons before they run than felons after they run. There's something to it. McAuliffe's spokesidiot, Brian Coy, attributed the errors to flaws in a system officials devised to identify convicted felons in Virginia. They can't even identify the convicted felons in Virginia who are still in prison? A flaw in the system? No wonder they can't run health care. But we'll put them in charge of, tariffs. I'm sure they'll do a wonderful job on that, too. But officials did not check for felons living outside Virginia, such as Cloud, who's serving the first of 2 life sentences in West Virginia, and Harmon Wright, who is on supervised probation in California. This is obviously a massive administrative undertaking, Coy said. We're working constantly to refine the working administrative database that we're using to implement this process. And as we're made aware of ways we can refine it, we're executing those refinements immediately. Do they really care, ladies and gentlemen, if a mass murderer has the right to vote? No, they don't really care. The whole goal is to push Hillary over the finish line, to deliver electoral college votes out of Virginia. We have a few little slip-ups, mass murders in West Virginia or California who killed people in Virginia. Well, that kind of comes with the territory. Don't sweat it. And so all these people are going to cancel out the vote of people who've never committed felonies. And please don't call me and say I did my time and therefore I have a right to vote. No. In Virginia, prior to this unconstitutional act, part of doing your time is not having the right to vote. It's that simple. You shouldn't have committed a felony. Jim, Leesburg, Virginia, the great WMAL. Go.
Mark, this is Jim Plowman. I'm your Commonwealth's attorney.
Jim Plowman is our local prosecutor. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. Good to talk to you.
Well, you're talking to the whole country.
Oh, wow. I was calling about the article you were just talking about, and it's been quite revealing, all these individuals we've exposed that really shouldn't be restored, that are being restored to vote in error. And had some back and forth with the governor's office regarding trying to obtain the list of these 200-plus thousand felons that he's restored, and I've been getting nothing but stonewalled along the way. Tried making a FOIA request, got all sorts of back and forth.
Jim Plowman, hold on. I want the nation to understand. This is the chief prosecutor in a county in Virginia who can't get a list of the ex-felons that they're using in the governor's office. Isn't that what you're saying, Jim?
Yeah, they actually, it's odd because it's always been public information in the past, but now that this blanket restoration order with no names to it, they won't share the list of information. Which
why do you think that is? Because they don't want to be embarrassed?
Well, I think they're afraid we're going to find what we're actually already finding, which is that the list has no integrity, and the data that they're using is completely unreliable. I have, one of the most egregious, I've found several people that shouldn't be restored. I don't object really to someone's rights being restored if they've turned their life around and they can show that. But, this is why a blanket restoration is not good and why these cases deserve individual review. I've got one guy who's stabbed family members 2 times, was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He's sitting in a state mental hospital right now. He's been restored. He can vote.
Oh, jeez. I assume he'll vote Democrat, just a guess, but I don't know.
I don't know. But I presume he could, you can register online now, and I presume he could request an absentee ballot if he figured it out from the mental hospital. So I got another guy this one's very odd. He was convicted of molesting a child. He was 52 years old, convicted of molesting an 11-year-old girl, did 5 years in prison, and then when he was released, he got deported back to Peru, which is wrong on a lot of fronts. I'm not sure. I know we're not deporting our own citizens. That one I can't understand.
So wait a minute. So we deport him back to Peru because he's a citizen of Peru, and he gets and he's supposed to be able to vote?
That's what the governor's database says. I put his name and information in the database, and it says he's restored by the grant order issued by the governor on April 22. He's not even a citizen. So I'm not. The list has got to be so corrupt at this point.
So Jim Plowman, prosecutor, Loudoun County, Virginia, what you're telling me is it's going to be very, very difficult on Election Day to figure out who's doing what.
It would seem, you've got people in prison, you've got people on probation, you have people that are not even meeting the governor's own de minimis criteria for restoration that are being restored.
It's unbelievable.
And they, the governor's office tells me they're willing to help, and I asked for the list, and they said no. One of their responses is, if you're a convicted felon or you're in prison and you find out that you're restored in error, give the governor's office a call. So they're relying on the felons to self-report, which is,
of course,
on its face, absurd.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jim Plowman, I have a ticket. Can I share it with you? No, just kidding. I don't have any tickets. Anyway, it's a pleasure. Yeah, guy. It's a pleasure. Listen, I love the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department. You guys do a great job. The prosecutor's office, I want to thank you, too. And thanks for checking in and filling in the nation on what's going on here.
You bet. Anytime.
All right, take care. Well, and Virginia's a key state. All the states are key, but this is supposedly one of the swing states, and you can see now we're going to have a mess. And that's intentional. Whenever there's a mess, it doesn't help Republicans or conservatives. Have you noticed that? That's not what it's intended to do.